Alright, so today we're going to look at how to tell if a horse is lame or not. So we're going to go through basically trotting them out and evaluating that trot. So I haven't checked him in a little bit, so I don't know what he's looking like, but we'll go ahead and see together and I'll explain to you what I'm seeing. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and trot him away from us. So by that, seeing him go away, you can look really clearly at the hind legs and see if they're tracking evenly. So let's go ahead and do that right now. And then after I trot him away, I'm going to trot him back towards, and we'll look at the front legs. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and trot off. Alright, so watching him trot away, the first thing I want you to look at, and I'll go ahead and pop the video up here so you can see it, is I want you to take a look at that left hind. So as he's trotting off, and I'll play this in slow motion for you, watch how that left hind is tracking out to the side. So he seems to be sore on that hind. There's a variety of reasons that could be. And I would guess it's mostly that he's a little bit sore on this gravel because he doesn't have shoes on the hind and he has worn his hind feet down pretty far. So he does really ideally need some protection on those hind feet right now. But if you watch how it's tracking, you can see how it tracks out a little bit. And the right hind doesn't do that as much. It's more tracking straight, maybe a little bit to the left. He has good action with his hocks. So if you look at how his hocks move, they both move up and down pretty evenly. Neither of them look too stiff. And his hips look fairly even. So the big thing that I'm noticing is that tracking to the left a little bit, which is indicating some soreness in the left hind, or potentially soreness in both. I suspect if we watch him trotting on the side, which we'll do later, we'll see that he tracks a bit short on both hinds because he looks just a little bit footsore to me. But we'll go ahead and watch him trot towards us, and then we'll watch him trot on the side in a bit. Alright, so watching him trot from the front towards us, he at first glance looks really good. And that's one of the reasons I'm using this horse, is because I knew he wouldn't be drastically head-bobbing lame. I feel like head-bobbing horses are really easy to see that they're lame. It's really easy to tell where they're lame. If you have any experience at all, you don't struggle. Horses like him, at first glance, they look pretty sound, and you might not suspect anything. And honestly, it's only because I know he has a history of lameness that I'm looking at him this closely. If I just pulled him out from the field, I probably wouldn't notice it walking him in. But he is recovering from being lame, so I'm taking a really close eye. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and throw the video up here. And when I play it in a second, I'll play it in slow motion for you. I want you to really watch his right front. So as he's tracking towards us, you'll see that that right front just picks up off the ground a little bit faster than the left. So do you see that unevenness in his movement? So that signifies that there's some soreness or some biomechanical difference on the right front. With something this slight, it could simply be biomechanics, especially since his feet are slightly different. You could think it could be something along those lines. For him, a little bit of soreness in the right front is fairly usual. He's been a tiny bit off in the right front since I've owned him, so I think there's something about the way that foot grows and something about the bone spurs in that foot that bother him more than the left. So for me, I'm happy about this because where I was really seeing that big lameness was in the left front. And to me, he's looking a little more off in the right now. That looks a little more usual, so I'm a little bit happier. But I do hope you saw that just slight difference where he just picked up that right front a little bit quicker than he picked up the left. Alright, and the other thing when you're trotting them, you want to be sure that you're giving them a lot of rope. If I'm holding him right here, below the nose, I'm going to be affecting his gait by where I'm holding him. So the more rope you can give him while keeping him trotting and being safe, the better off you are. And then the last thing we're going to look at is we're going to watch him trot from the side. So I'm going to go ahead and have you stand over there. Turn around. You want to trot them on as level a surface as possible. That's why we're using this stretch of our driveway. Alright, so watching him on the side, I'm seeing the exact same things I saw from the hind and from the front, which is good. You want to see consistency. The side and all the different angles can give you a little bit of a different view, but altogether you should see a consistent image. So I am seeing him stepping slightly short behind, which I said I'll probably see because of how he was tracking when I watched him trot away. Again, I'm suspecting that's foot soreness, but he's also not using his back very well, so it could be a result of back soreness or him just not using himself very well. Those are all possible explanations. To really be thorough, I should trot him on a soft surface to test my theory of whether it is merely his feet being sore on the hard gravel. And then the other thing I'm noticing is that slight offness on that right front left hind. So from the side, I see more clearly how those two are related. He is picking up the right front a little bit quicker, and he's also tracking a little crooked on the left hind. I would guess he's tracking crooked on the left hind to help him pick up that right front a little quicker. So again, I'm seeing some soreness on that right front, but it's not horrible. So I'll go ahead and play those for you in slow motion right now. And as you watch, pay attention to how that hind end isn't tracking up quite as much, and how you're seeing a little bit of that quickness with that right front and that right front left diagonal pair. Just not being quite as good. But overall, he's not horrible. He's fairly sound. But this would be how you would go ahead and dissect those trotting sets. Alright. So that's basically how you go about evaluating a basic lameness. You can also trot them on a circle, which sometimes will give you more information. But we're not going to do that today. Aw, bud.